Welcome back. Nigeria's headline inflation rate dropped from the 21.88% recorded in July to 20.12% in August. The fall came after the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, ordered the immediate suspension of the collection of 4% free on board FOP charge recently levied by the Nigerian Customs Service on all imported goods. And of course, joining us more for this discussion is a communications consultant, public relations officer, All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Ibrahim Garba, right here with us at the Abuja studio. Ibrahim Garba, good evening and thank you for joining us on the show. All right, I also have lawyer right here in the studio with me, Bernard Uniga. Bernard, it is indeed a fantastic time to have you here with me.
Mark, it's always my pleasure to be here.
All right. Well, I'll take you up very quickly before I hit Ibrahim Garba. Now, could this drop in inflation be seen as a short-term relief or the start of a lasting trend from your perspective?
Okay, I think I would like to say good evening to Ibrahim. He seemed to be a regular guest on the show as myself. And,
well, he wasn't here last week.
Well, it's okay. But whenever I'm here, he is here. You know, so I want to say good evening to Ibrahim first. Yes, this is what this period is what is called a base year. Right. That is where more or less you recalibrate the data, you know, for the estimation of the whole indices with respect to inflation. This is also a harvest season. Yeah. You know, so definitely that is why you see the adjustments in terms of the inflation rate. It is not anything too significant to be excited about. You know, monetary policies, you know, cost of production, imports, transportation, and all of those factors, you know, are all hinged on the devaluation of the naira. Yeah. You know, so we need to go back to begin to have an economy that we can grow, that the people are involved in, where per capita income becomes a ratio upon which we judge the GDP and our economy. You know, so it's beautiful statistics, but it's not sufficient until it has a reflection on the life of the average Nigerian. And it is not so much of a significant drop. Okay. You know, so I'm even wondering why it is so much of a news. It's not a significant drop. Of course, you know, global economists will tell you that presidents are not responsible for inflation, but they get blamed for it, you know. But of course, the exchange rate has been stable. So we must give it to this government. Okay. You know, I would not, you know, take from the government. All right. That has been fantastic. What that does for businessmen and women, generally for us as citizens, is that we are able to plan. All right. Because you are certain that for the past 3 months, the exchange rate has been stable. So kudos, I'm able to, you know, plan ahead, you know. So I must thank the minister. So it's not all about criticism. The minister is doing well in that regard. And whatsoever he's doing, let the exchange rate go down and let it be stable. So that is what I would say with respect to that. Let's
get to hear from you, Ibrahim. Ibrahim Garba, very quickly. Well, Bernard here is saying, well, to a great extent, criticism will not always fly from his perspective, that he's saying, look, the exchange rate has been quite stable. Now, how do you think this drop in inflation from your end will shape public opinion of the government's economic performance?
You know, he has said it all, but we have to look at other means of trying to support these initiatives, or rather this information that just came to us. We are not surprised because if you look at the seasons, for the past 50 years, within this period, this window period, you see drop in price, commodity prices, because, you know, we have grains coming out of the farms and all that. But, you know, beyond that, we should begin to think of how we can work directly with research institutions and climatologists, because they will help us fashion ways, you know, in mitigating disasters going forward. Then again, whatever success we are celebrating today is the role of the smallholder farmers, you know, down to those in the urban centers, because if we don't empower them from that level, you cannot see improved yields, you know, on a yearly basis. And that is why we at our level, we want to advise, you know, the federal government on what needs to be done, the steps that need to be taken, so that this growth, temporary growth we are seeing now, should be on a continuous basis, and at the same time we improve on that. And one of the ways, Mark, we want to recommend, or rather advise the federal government, is in terms of, you know, the farm inputs. If you look at it on average, what the farmers are spending on farm inputs and what is coming out, it's clear to you to understand that they are not finding it easy. And at the same time, the sales, the grains you see, you know, they are bringing to the markets, they could be, is a product of poverty, because they are desperate to sell, to reclaim money for, daily sustenance. And there are other variables that are put into place which makes the prices to go down. But on the flip side of it, there are some people, the big marketers who buy these from the smallholder farmers, store them in reserve, so awaiting the time when the price will appreciate for them to go back to the market. So it's a temporary, victory for the federal government, but we should begin to look beyond that because there's more to it than meet the eye mark.
All right, thank you very much. Bernard, before we go on a break quickly, with elections on the horizon, how much political capital can the government gain from this dip in inflation?
Well, Mark, these issues are such that we cannot exhaust it with the time we have. But like I have said, government needs to go back. The people, the citizens are the core of the economy of every nation, the productivity of every per individual.
Right.
I'll give you an instance. We import fish into Nigeria, $21.5 billion of fish. Fish only. So imagine, Mark, that you and I go into that business. We have a $21.5 billion to make. Imagine the state governors being able, to go into some partnership and synergy with the banks and the private sector. That is when we begin to have a much more robust conversation when it comes to the economy and inflation.
Well, before we go on that, from your assertion now, it's clear you are saying that the whole blame should not be at the bulk of the president. Of course, the state level also they have.
I blame the governors of the 36 states, and I hold them responsible for the poverty situation of Nigeria. Yes,
highlighting that, very good.